You ever get that feeling that the room you're in is actually working against you, sabotaging your focus? Well, today we're going to dive into something called architectural solitude. It's this idea, this art, of designing spaces that unlock our most intense creativity and what's known as deep work. So, I want you to do something. Just take a second and look around you, right now. Is the space you're in, your office, your home, wherever, is it actually built for distraction, or is it a real sanctuary for deep thought? Just let that question sink in as we go. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get into the deep work mindset. Then we'll explore the psychology behind solitude. After that, we'll get practical, talking about designing physical spaces and crafting the right atmosphere. And we'll wrap it all up by looking at this through a really cool cinematic lens. Okay, section 1, the deep work mindset. Yeah, because before we even think about building anything, we got to know what the goal is, right? What are we even aiming for?
So what exactly is this deep work thing? It's all about focused, completely uninterrupted cognitive effort on tasks that really, truly matter. It's basically the polar opposite of, juggling a million tabs and notifications. This is the state we want our environment to champion.
Let's move on to section 2, the psychology of solitude. Okay, so to get the outside right, we've got to start by understanding what's happening on the inside. It's this whole inside-out kind of deal. And this is where things get really interesting, kind of paradoxical, actually. You see, highly active minds are just constantly buzzing, processing a ton of information. Their internal noise is already turned way up. And because of that, they actually start to crave minimal external stimulation. So that quiet space they're looking for, it's not empty, no way. It's the canvas their brain needs to do its thing. So what's the big villain in this story? What are we fighting against? It's exactly this: external chaos and overstimulation. It's everywhere in modern life. Our whole mission here is to build a space that's like a fortress against all that noise. Okay, with all that psychology in our back pocket, it's time to get our hands dirty. Let's get practical. Section 3 is all about designing the physical space. Time to build that sanctuary for thought. It really all comes down to 3 non-negotiable principles. A space for deep work has to be quiet, to shut down all those auditory distractions. It has to be controlled, so you're the one deciding what gets in. And it has to be solitary, giving you that precious freedom from interruption. And look, this isn't some new age productivity trend. This need for a dedicated physical and mental space is absolutely timeless. This is the exact kind of environment that giants like Einstein and Newton carved out for themselves to have those huge world-changing breakthroughs. But, just having a quiet room isn't the whole story, not even close. Which brings us right to section 4, crafting the atmosphere. This is where we go beyond just walls and doors and start talking about mood, about the feeling of a space. The real goal here is to get the atmosphere to literally mirror your internal world. We're talking about using lighting that's dramatic but also feels real. It's about creating an overwhelming sense of peace. It's about designing a space for personal fulfillment, not just for cranking out work. This really puts the two choices side by side, doesn't it? Our goal is a space that breathes peace and fulfillment, one that genuinely supports your well-being. And the thing we have to fight against, what we have to actively avoid, is a space built for shallow interaction. You know what I'm talking about? That constant ping-pong of emails, messages, and interruptions that just shatters our focus into a million pieces. All right, for our last section, we're going to do something a little different. Let's put on a new pair of glasses and look at this from a cinematic perspective. This is section 5, visualizing the inner world. I want you to think about this like a film director using 2 very specific, very powerful camera techniques. First up, slow, deliberate tracking shots and intense close-ups. And then second, these huge, vast aerial views and wide, sweeping shots. The first one just perfectly mirrors how deep thinking actually works. Think about those slow tracking shots, those intense close-ups. That's like the mind leaning in, noticing all the tiny details that everyone else misses and really digging into each and every piece of the puzzle. And then we pull back, all the way back, with these sweeping aerial views. This isn't just about seeing the big picture. It's a metaphor for something deeper. The sheer courage it takes to put your own well-being first, to step away from the constant pressure for social approval. It's really about having, well, as one writer so perfectly put it, the courage of a person who walks alone to find places no one has ever been. And that's true for our inner world just as much as the outer one. And so that brings it all right back around to you. After all this, the psychology, the design, the whole vibe, the big question is, if you could build your perfect sanctuary for deep thought, what does your architectural solitude look like?